DOL is just a little less than 2 months away. And you guys now have your DOL slides and you can start working on them. But it's a rather big task, and you might have looked at those slides and looked at that rubric and thought, that's too much. I don't know where to start. And so to help you out, we're breaking it down into some smaller chunks. And this is what you guys should be doing for your step one. Um, we have a worksheet here for you. You either have a physical copy or you are going to get a digital copy of it by going to our sophomore DOL course in Echo and scrolling down to the daily agenda part, and it will be linked there for the next week. And you can make a copy, share it with your advisor, share it with me, and you can type on it. Or if you prefer to handwrite, you'll have a hard copy. And what this worksheet is going to do is going to work you through your goal statement and work selection. So essentially, it's going to kind of set you up for the first several slides of your presentation. So your presentation template looks like this. After your title slide, there's the instructions slide, which you are going to delete before the final presentation. And then here we have your background and hook slide with your goal statement. So this first part, introduce yourself to your audience. You're on your own for this, okay? How you do that is up to you. But whatever you do say about yourself should kind of bridge towards what you're going to say here for your goal statement. If you're going to say, oh, I am preparing for a future in video game design, it might be prudent to talk about how you are a gamer. And that is part of what guides your free time and how you ended up at New Tech, because we had the video game design pathway, etc. If you're interested in being a physical therapist and you are a soccer kid and you play club soccer and then you play soccer for Kennedy or whatever, that would be worth talking about here as we bridge towards the goal statement, whatever your goal statement is. Try to make some connection between who you are and what you want to be. And then from what you want to be, how you're using your time at New Tech to prepare for that. So back to this worksheet, okay? First of all, on the slides, you have a question that you need to answer. You need to basically write a thesis statement that you are going to prove through your DOL presentation. The question is, what are your goals for after high school and how are you preparing for them at New Tech? A possible sentence frame you could use to answer this. If you guys want to use this sentence frame, that's perfectly fine. But if you want to deviate from it and you've got those writing skills to do so, you can do that. But the sentence frame is, I am preparing for a future, and then describe what it is what you want to do by, and then you talk about one thing that you're doing at New Tech that's getting you ready for it, and then another thing that you're doing at New Tech that's getting you ready for it. It is a two-part question. What are your goals for after high school, and how are you preparing for them? The first page of this worksheet is about working on part one, or part one of the sentence frame here. I am preparing for a future, and then describing it as what you want to do. Okay? The first thing you're going to want, and what your advisors are going to want to see, and what I'm going to want to see, is for you to complete this sentence stem. I am preparing for a future, and then describe what it is that you want to do. It can be highly specific. If you're like, I want to be a game designer with X studio in Y city, or it could be a little more vague, like I want to work in video game design. There can be different levels of specificity And it's okay for it to be a little bit vague because, you're 15, but we want a direction. Now, whatever you end up saying there for your future, it could be either a career focused goal or an education focused goal. If you have no idea what you want to do, you need to do some thinking about this and you need to come up with something you can say. Hopefully you aren't in that place now. I've already looked at what you guys told Miss Svetlova as far as your interest, and it seemed like most people had something that they could say here. So it's just a matter of putting it into words. So some examples of some career-focused goals. I'm preparing for a future as a video game designer. I'm preparing for a future working as a travel nurse. I'm preparing for a future working in a skilled trade in the construction industry. I'm preparing for a future as a video editor. I'm preparing for a future in early childhood education. I'm preparing for a future as an entrepreneur or business person, running your own business. If you were to do an education-focused goal, it could be as simple as I'm preparing for a future, continuing my education at a 4-year university in pursuit of a bachelor's degree. You don't know what you want to do yet, but you know you want to go to college. And the rest of your DOL is going to be talking about how you're setting yourself up with those academic and life skills to be successful in college. I'm preparing for a future obtaining my cosmetology license at Sacramento State. That is kind of career and education focused, but you're talking about a very specific goal education-wise to support a specific career. I'm preparing for a future at a community college in pursuit of a transfer agreement to Sacramento State. Okay, that's kind of like the first one, except it's talking about the path of going to community college first. I'm preparing for a future attaining my doctorate in sociology, a little more specific, and specifying a higher degree level and a specific discipline. Those are all acceptable ranges for the answer to this question. But then, once you have actually answered that question, you go on to part 2 of the question. How are you preparing for this goal at New Tech? So you discuss what you have done in your classes and how doing this project in world studies or that project in math prompted growth in written communication or collaboration or agency or coding knowledge and thinking, whatever it is, and how that growth is going to support you pursuing that career in game design or in healthcare, or how it is going to set you up with the skills necessary to succeed at a 4-year university or in pursuit of a transfer agreement to a 4-year university, so on and so forth. So now we got to figure out what's in the pantry. What do we have to cook with? What could you possibly do your DOL presentation about and talk about in support of this goal, whatever goal it is that you have decided upon? So, you have a chart on the back and all the different learning outcomes that are prompted on the DOL rubric that you could talk about are here. We want to see all the different things we could talk about. So, first we have knowledge and thinking. That is broken up by content area: English language arts, social studies, math, science, media, computer science. Okay, those each have specific sub-rubrics. Then we have written communication. When you're communicating yourself through writing, we have collaboration, working with other people. And then we have agency, your work ethic, and organization and follow through to actually do things. For each of these learning outcomes, first, you're going to define it in your own terms. And here's kind of a prompt for your working definition of it. What is someone who's quote unquote good at that learning outcome able to do? If they're proficient at collaboration, what are they able to do? You might say, when someone is proficient at collaboration, they are able to work effectively with people, to come together and all contribute to a final work product. And they are also able to navigate difficulties in that work when they do occur, as opposed to rage quitting or just doing all the work themselves. Next column, you go connected. How can being good at or proficient at this learning outcome help you towards your goal? So, if you're planning to work in game design, unless you are planning to be a completely solo game developer, there aren't many of those. There aren't many games out there that make a whole lot of money designed solely by one person. And when someone does do that, that's usually not their entire career. Most people end up working collaboratively with other team members in order to generate a game of larger scale and complexity. And so you would talk about how collaboration is an essential part of that industry, and you would need to work with X or Y type of other people, other programmers, other animators, other writers, etc., in order to generate the final product. And then you want to brainstorm what are some things you've done in classes that show that you've made progress in that learning outcome. Okay, so you have done 3 different collaborative projects in world studies where we've had you in groups. The government video, the mock trial, and now the podcast. Those are all options. You've collaborated on all of those. So maybe you write, okay, genocide podcast, class, world studies. And then you got to evaluate that. Okay, are you proud of it? Was that good work? Did you have fun doing it? If there is you can come up with, okay, I've got this project that I did in class. I'm proud of what I did. I had fun doing it. It connects squarely to that learning outcome, collaboration, agency, written communication, knowledge and thinking in social studies, etc., whatever, connects squarely to my intended career goal. That is a contender to talk about in your DOL. Ultimately, you're going to pick 2 of these once you fill out this whole thing. And note, not everything is going to connect, okay? If you are intending a career in you want to be a skilled tradesman in the construction industry, you might not necessarily have a lot of English language arts connections as far as literary analysis skills to your career, but you are going to need to collaborate. You're going to need to write because you're going to need to write to file your building permits, to communicate with clients. That skill is going to be necessary there. If you're going into game design, your games are going to be improved if you have more cultural knowledge from English language arts and social studies knowledge to help inform the design of your games and the world building. Math and science skills are kind of inherent to programming. Our computer science rubric is specifically calibrated towards designing, coding apps and games. And what you're learning about storytelling and communication through your media classes connects clearly to game design, because video games are a They're a form of communication, and they are a form of storytelling. So connections can be made throughout, but the ultimate determinant of what you really should be selecting to talk about during your DOL is, what are you most proud of? What did you have the most fun doing? Those two, whatever they are, then you talk about them down here. You reproduce them down here. Okay, I want to talk about collaboration and computer science knowledge and thinking. So I'm going to be talking about my collaboration through my genocide podcast and world studies, and my my culminating game from video game design for video game design. And those are the two things we're going to talk about, how that learning and progressing in collaboration and computer science knowledge and thinking are going to help me achieve my career in game design. So we are most of the way through quarter 3. Progress report's going out today. We have 2 months until the end of the semester. 2 months until the DOL presentation week. You should be able to identify your goal like right now, immediately. But then you might take a week or two to finish this out. Basically, your 2 projects that you should be reflecting on for the DOL, they should be from something you already did right now in quarter 3 and or last semester, or something that you are starting in a class in the coming week or 2 that you will be completing by the end of quarter 3 at the end of May. Nothing that we are starting in quarter 4 should be on the menu for something to talk about in your DOL, because you aren't going to be able to finish it in time in order to reflect on it here. So your advisors and I would both like to see this. And when you have this all worked out, then you go to here, you plug it in right there, and then you're able to go on and start working on your reflection for project 1, whatever it is, and then your reflection for project 2, whatever it is. And those slides in between there for those project reflections, those are what you're most familiar with. Those are what you've already been working with last semester, what you will be working with this semester. This coming week, you're going to be doing these presentations for world studies. I know you're going to be doing DOL style presentations in your other classes by the end of the quarter. So let's get our goal statements and work selection done. Good luck, guys.